under the rule of an erratic and violent authoritarian. So we must remain united and true to our values across this House and with our NATO allies. Yeah. We must show Putin that we will not be divided. Yeah. I welcome the sanctions introduced today and the international community's efforts to unite with a collective response. However, we must be prepared to go further. I understand the tactic of holding back sanctions on Putin and his cronies to try to deter an invasion of the rest of Ukraine. But a threshold has already been breached. A sovereign nation has been invaded in a war of aggression based on lies and fabrication. If we do not respond with a full set of sanctions now, Putin will once again take away the message that the benefits of aggression outweigh the costs. So we will work with the Prime Minister and our international allies to ensure that more sanctions are introduced. Russia should be excluded from financial mechanisms like SWIFT, and we should ban trading in Russian sovereign debt. Putin's campaign of misinformation should be tackled. Russia today should be prevented from broadcasting its propaganda around the world. And we should work with our European allies to ensure that Nord Stream 2 pipeline is cancelled. Whatever the sequencing of these sanctions, this won't be easy. Britain must work with our European allies to handle the disruption in the supply of energy and raw materials. We must defend ourselves and our allies against cyber attacks. We must bring together the widest possible coalition of nations to condemn this action against a sovereign UN member state. Ukrainians are defending their own country and democracy in Europe. We must stand ready with more military support for Ukraine to defend itself. And we must stand ready to do more to reassure and reinforce NATO allies in Eastern Europe. But we must also get our own house in order. The Prime Minister said the lesson from Russia's 2014 invasion of Donbass is that you can't just let Vladimir Putin get away with it. But until now we have. We have failed to stop the flow of illicit Russian finance into Britain. A cottage industry does the bidding of those linked to Putin, and Russian money has been allowed to influence our politics. We have to admit that mistakes have been made. We have to rectify them. This must be a turning point, an end to oligarch impunity. We need to draw a line on Companies House, providing easy cover for shell companies. We need to ensure our anti-money laundering laws are enforced. We need to crack down on spies, and we have to make sure money isn't pouring into UK politics from abroad. Russian aggression has now torn up the Minsk Protocol and the Budapest Memorial. But even at this late hour, we must pursue diplomatic routes to prevent further conflict. So can the Prime Minister tell us what international diplomatic efforts are going on and what role the UK will have in that process? Mr. Speaker, we know Putin's playbook. He seeks division. We must stay united. He believes the benefits of aggression outweigh the consequences, so we must take a stand. And he believes the West is too corrupted to do the right thing, so we must prove him wrong. I believe we can, and I offer the support of the opposition in that vital endeavour. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, can I thank the right honourable gentleman, the Leader of the Opposition, for the clarity with which he has just spoken and the support that he has given to the UK's strategy in dealing with this crisis in Europe. And I think, if I may say so, that that will be noted, and the change in the approach taken by the opposition is I think, massively, over the last couple of years, Mr. Speaker, is massively beneficial. The change over the last couple of years, Mr. Speaker, which I think that a fair-minded person would acknowledge. And he's raised some important questions, and they relate to the the ways in which we clamp down on Russian money in the UK and indeed throughout the West. And this country was the first to publish a register of beneficial ownership. This country has led the way in cracking down on on wealth that is unexplained, and we are bringing forward an economic crime bill to take forward further measures, Mr. Speaker. And I think I should understand it is absolutely vital that we hold in reserve further powerful sanctions, as I think the right honourable gentleman acknowledged, in view of what President Putin may do next. And we want to stop Russian companies from being able to raise funds in sterling or indeed in dollars, Mr. Speaker. We want to stop them raising funds on UK markets, and we want to strip away the veil that conceals the ownership of property in this country and indeed throughout the West. And we will work with our friends and partners around the world to achieve that. And the sanctions we're implementing today are very tough. Promziaz Bank is a top 10 Russian bank, and it services 70% of state contracts signed by the Russian Ministry of Defence. But the measures that we have prepared are much, much tougher still, and we will have absolutely no hesitation in implementing them. Mr. Speaker, we will get on with the business of diplomacy, and he's absolutely right to draw attention to the importance of diplomacy now, in spite of everything that is happening on the borders of Ukraine and now in Donbass. There is a G7 meeting straight after this statement, Mr. Speaker. We will be holding meetings in NATO, in the P5, and in every forum where it is relevant and possible to bring President Putin to understand the gravity of what he is doing. The UK will continue to offer support to our Ukrainian friends, and I do think it has been right for us to be out in front in offering military assistance, defensive military assistance to the Ukrainians. I think that has been the right thing to do. I spoke last night to President Zelensky, who made further requests, and we will consider them. We're doing everything we can to offer support in the time that we have, and we will do that. But I just think it is worth, and I'm glad that the right honourable gentleman seemed to support that as well. It is absolutely vital at this critical moment that President Putin understands that what he is doing is going to be a disaster for Russia. And it is clear from the response of the world to what he has done already in Donbass that he is going to end up with a Russia that is poorer as a result of the sanctions that the world will implement. A Russia that is more isolated, a Russia that has pariah status, Mr. Speaker. No chance of holding football tournaments in a Russia that invades sovereign countries, Mr. Speaker. And a Russia that is engaged in a bloody and debilitating conflict with a fellow Slav country. What an appalling result for President Putin, Mr. Speaker. I hope that he steps back from the brink and does not conduct a full invasion. But in the meantime, Mr. Speaker,